My fellow techies, so I've been having trouble understanding the concept of Fluent interface and method chaining in C#. Like, what does method chaining have to do with Fluent interface? How can we utilize these patterns in our .NET applications? I know a lot of us are in this together, so grab a snack and let's get some insightful knowledge from prolific Lexi. He's not just an Agba dev, but a tech lead with a wealth of backend development knowledge. How are you doing over there, sir?
Yeah, I'm doing very fine. Good to have me.
Yeah.
It's been an exciting time. I've been watching several of your episodes, and I'm excited to finally also come share one or two things that I love doing. Thank you very much for having me.
You're welcome, sir. So being a tech lead and a mentor, how does it feel like?
Well, I feel great. I feel excited. I feel encouraged to wanting to do this because I have people listening to me because I'm actually helping them in some way, one way or the other, in solving real life challenges on their project. I basically run a position in the company as a CTO and also as a trainer that exposes me to different kinds of live experience or scenarios that helps me to quickly adopt as examples and share with upcoming developers, junior and novice. So I'm excited to be here once again to share a couple of things that I believe your audience would also benefit from.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm personally excited to have you also on the show. So are you saying all of this are not challenging, like they don't stress you out? Because I know how it can be.
Well, for my day-to-day role, yes, generally, but when it comes to coding, I'll say no. It's something we've been doing for the past 16 years.
Wow.
So it kind of becomes a lifestyle.
Yeah, I get it.
I should put it like that.
So what do you have for us today, sir?
All right, so quick one. I want to talk about Fluent interface and method chaining.
Yeah.
That's one topic that, irrespective of the programming language you are working with, you definitely would have heard something like this. If you've not heard it, maybe it's probably called another name across different programming language. But for this demo, I'll be using C#, and there's a whole lot of applications of Fluent interfaces using extensive method chaining in .NET. To start from a high level, Fluent interface is a behavioral design pattern. So those are things that, design patterns are basically things that they are practices that make you write elegant code, that make you write codes that will stand the test of time, code that would encourage people to want to inherit your project and go through it. So today I'll be showing you a whole lot of things on how to take advantage of Fluent interface by using method chaining. A quick run-up of my agenda today will be telling you what the difference are, because you will see people using this word interchangeably. I'll show you some use case for those that probably have been seeing things like that, some codes like that, and don't even know that this is what the Fluent interface looks like. I'll be running you through some demos, and I'll show you some benefit at the end of the demos. And also share some links to some materials that you could use to further understand this course, because I know I have limited time here. So thank you.
You're welcome.
If you want me to get started, I will get started.
Definitely. Let's get started, sir.
All right. So I think the first thing people want to know is what's the difference, because people use this word differently. And so it's important to understand that Fluent interface is a technique for designing readable code based on extensive method chaining. So the whole idea is you will see a code that you like, it's expressive, that is readable, and you call that code, this is fluent enough. In order to achieve that, you need to use a technique, and which relies extensively on method chaining. I'll run you through a couple of, I'll show you through just a snapshot of something you probably have seen if you're in a .NET ecosystem. You would have seen this, and you probably don't know the name, but you write those codes. So there's really nothing new here. So what we have here is basically an example of a middleware configuration in order to start up your project in an ASP.NET application. Anybody that writes ASP.NET application would have seen this. And I'll try to circle out a code that looks like a Fluent interface. The Fluent API interface relies on Fluent API. Let me put it like that.
Okay.
In this case, we have a policy object trying to call a method called with origin. It's been expressed as basic English. So in such a way that if you're taking the novice, it's quite pretty much easy to just explain and do a walkthrough of what is happening in that piece of code.
Okay.
So you say, I'm trying to create a policy with origin that allows any method and also allows any header and allows credentials.
Okay.
Basic, simple English.
Yeah.
This whole code could be intertwined and modeled into one name. I could have just called it with origin, allow any method and any other credentials. But what you've done is that you've tried to break down this code by what we call decoupling. And that's what's happening here. And that is one of the benefits you get. I'm going to talk about more of the benefit later.
All right.
But I'll take you through more of a diagram that gives you more like a pictorial view of what we're talking about. So the whole idea is creating an object that can be passed across, assigned to different tags. In this case, this tag can be called the receivers, as you're seeing it. So the client would in the most cases create an object and has some set of things to do on it. And you do not want to just you want to separate those things because you want to make your code loosely coupled. So you pass it through several chain of events.
Okay. So
this chain of events are basically, you can call them receivers. So that's a good picture. And if you look, if I take you back to this diagram, that is what this snapshot of code is trying to achieve here. So with origin, allow any method, allow headers, allow credentials, and these receivers you are seeing.
Okay.
So they are taking the object and altering the object state before you eventually get to the last receiver, and the object is now passed to the next, next application cycle. So I'll show you another code where it's being used also to tell you that in .NET, AS.NET is extensively being used in a lot of areas. As you can see in this code now, this is a library called DBOp. I will share the link, obviously, at the end of the demo.
Right.
But one of the things about DBOp is that it helps you create some set of migration policies to your code. And the DBOp library itself is taking advantage of what we call Fluent API or Fluent interface. That's what we call it.
Okay.
Now, as you can see, it's basic English, and I'll just work with me. Deploy changes to SQL database with script from file system. So you do not even need to be a guru already to understand this English and the way it's being used. So you can tell that the first method is what? Is saying that what? Deploy these changes to an SQL database, and that's where it stops. So you are attaching it that after you've done that, do that with a script from a file system. So it's pretty much straightforward, like Fluent, from the word. It's Fluent basic English. And that's what is being used. And the advantage of this is basically, it makes your code readable. It makes it easy for someone to quickly jump on it and understand what you're trying to do. Definitely. And what? Either refactor the code or optimize it if that's the goal of the author or whoever is handling that code. All right, so I want to give you a typical example. Let's even go beyond outside what you probably have seen before, or something too high level at this level. Okay. This is a basic C# code. Definitely. And it's a class, as you can see. Yeah. And this class is trying to emulate, or should I say, trying to mirror what we call an order manager. An order manager is just basically a manager that processes order. Okay. Meaning, think of a typical scenario. I have a product, a wonderful product I'm working with One Capital. It's called iPod.
Okay.
It's an inventory management system. And basically, there is a module that has to do with checkout, adding to cart and all that.
Okay.
So if you mirror that to
nice.
here, what's really happening is that you're about to process an order. And the way you're processing an order, it means you are about to process some product. So we have an order manager, and we have about three fields, one property and one method. If you look at what's going on, the first three fields are constant.
Constant, yeah.
Meaning they are holding static values, which represent VAT, service charge, and shipping fee. The next thing you see is a property, which is a cart with a data type of iSet. And in this case, we are storing a hash set because we want at any point in time, every product that is being stored in this hash set is unique as much as possible.
Okay.
So hash set ensures and guarantees that your products are unique. You are not adding a product more than once. Instead of adding a product more than once, you should be increasing the quantity.
Wow.
Now, you will see a method called add product to cart. To cart.
Yeah.
Apologies, which takes two property, the product and the quantity you are trying to add. And a whole lot of things is happening in that method. A whole lot of things. If you look carefully, you will see three if block statements. The if block statements are strategic. They are doing three things. It means that if you call this method, you have no choice. You cannot avoid these three if block statements. They must, in one way or the other, execute.
Yeah.
My result will false, but they must execute. This kind of code are tightly coupled. It is tightly coupled because there are times where you probably don't want to apply service charge. I should be able to detach or decouple that code from this entire block of method. Same thing goes with shipping fee before finally now adding it into the cart. So how do we now decouple this code? I want to use the Fluent API. I want to convert the apply VAT, apply service charge, apply shipping fee. I want to convert them into Fluent interfaces using method chaining.
Okay.
So I think from here we would move into showing some codes. Okay. But before that, you probably have a couple of questions. Please go ahead while I try to just pop up my Visual Studio.
Okay.
Let's write something.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would love to know if I can decide to use Fluent interface without method chaining. Is it possible?
Come again. I didn't hear you.
Can I use Fluent interface without method chaining? Is it possible?
Yes, you can use other techniques. I'm not only familiar with method chaining, and that's what I want to share today.
Okay, so that's pretty okay. You can just continue. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So give me the opportunity. I will share my screen now and just show you my Visual Studio. So I have a new project that I've created and just some basic code, and I'm going to run you through. I believe you can see my screen.
Definitely.
You can see it. I'm ready to roll. So if you can see my screen, you obviously can see that I have Visual Studio 2022 open.
Okay.
And I have some basic set of code to get started. Let me just remove some of this namespace and just clean up some things.
All right.
Save this. And this is pretty much the code I just showed you in the slide.
Yeah, it is.
But what do I want to do with this? I want to break this down. I want to extract some things. I want to make this code. I want to simplify it.
Okay.
And to simplify it basically just means that how do I remove all these logics?
Okay.
And make it a standalone. Make it left to the user of this method or this particular order manager to decide where to put it. So you know the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to delete this code completely.
Okay.
And I'll be left with this.
White space. So.
Yes.
Okay.
So now we have this code to be simple. So what this guy is basically doing is that it is just adding to cart. It has no business with determining whether to apply VAT, and the logic of applying of how that VAT is being calculated is not his business. You get?
Yeah.
Same thing goes with service charge and shipping. So doing that means that I don't necessarily also need this code, and I'll just take them out. So the only thing this guy is doing is to add to cart and tracking all the items that's been added to cart. That is what order manager will be doing. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a new class. So I'm going to add new item, and I'm going to call this product extension.
Okay.
So product extension is going to be a class, and I'm going to make this class an extension class. And to make a class an extension class, you first start with marking it with an access modifier of static.
Okay.
After you do that, I want to now go ahead and move those code I just deleted here. I'm going to do that by writing this code from somewhere, not to bore you with time. I've written this code before, so I'm just going to paste it here.
All right.
So what do you see? You basically see that I have just moved that code into different method blocks.
Yeah.
Giving the user this fluent kind of manner to introduce them anytime you like. So if you notice, I've just successfully detached it from order, and I've moved it into an extension class using the this keyword, as you can see.
Yeah.
So these are now extension methods to the product class. Now there are different ways. This is just my own style of writing method chaining, like I said, to achieve Fluent interface. So with this now, one thing I've not showed you what the model of the product looks like. And we'll quickly look at that.
All right.
So I'm tracking title, looking at description, quantity, your price, the price total, and this will not be needed again because we are not basically storing the state of whether I should apply VAT. So I wouldn't even erase this as this is not completely necessary. So basically you can see this take care of calculating what the VAT is. Again, you pardon me, I'm trying to make the code as simple as possible. You probably would be retrieving this from a database, or you'll be maybe taking it from a configuration file, or all sort of things like that, depending on what your requirement is in your project.
Okay.
Or have just decided to hard code it here. So just to simplify and make this code as straightforward as possible.
Okay.
So with this being done now, you can now have an idea what this Fluent API will look like if I was to utilize it in my program.cs file. It's as straightforward as having to just I'm going to pick its code again so I don't write and bore you from scratch and paste it here. And what do you see? You basically see where I've instantiated the manager and I've instantiated the product. And what have I done now? I've said, manager, add product to cart. 10 of them. Add 10 of this product to cart. Apply VAT with service charge and also shipping fee. So this is Fluent API for you. So if you take it back to the diagram I showed you, you'll see that you start seeing the similarities. So these are similar to things you will see in an ASP.NET library. I've just shown you how to do it very as basic as possible. So if tomorrow you have an issue with having to apply service charge, all you don't need to do is take that line out and you're fine. Oh, and one good thing about it is that you can move them anyhow. Any arrangement, the order does not matter in how they appear. Just make sure you call the method if you feel you need them. So instead of the if and else block statement you saw me writing inside one method, I've been able to decouple them into an extension method. Yeah. And this is method chaining. These techniques is method chaining for you. So that's it. If you have any question,
So this is coming from the extension method, right? The apply VAT and the other method. So, but I noticed that the namespace is not there. Can you show me, like, I want to see if the namespace is actually in the program.cs. Yes. Are you calling the namespace for the extension?
Yes, these are the namespace using. They are up here.
Oh, right.
Okay. Let me zoom in a little.
Okay.
So you see the namespace that here.
Yeah. I
so
can see that
Visual Studio is quite smart. The moment you paste any code, it quickly figures out the namespace and add them for you. Okay. So I didn't need to necessarily add it. Like I said, I have this code written. Yeah. I want this to be as fast as possible. So I just copy and paste and try to just walk you through what I've just pasted.
Oh, this is amazing.
Thank you.
So what other things do you think we should know about Fluent's interface and method chaining?
Yeah. Thank you for that. For me, I would say it's the benefit, which I try to also explain on my slide.
Okay.
I'm going to just show you now. So this is the code I just showed you. This gives you a bit of an insight into what I just shared. As you can see, I've just been able to, this is a screenshot of the output. I'm not really running any code here because the goal is not to see the output. The goal is to understand how to quickly structure your code.
Yeah.
So I've identified all the chaining method, all the places chaining is going on. Meaning each object, each method returns an object of an updated state of that object. So add product returns an object and immediately returns it, you chain it to an apply vat. You return that object again, you chain it to a with service charge and also shipping fee. That's what I've done here. Okay. So I think the great thing to understand here, if you followed along, is you would have seen this set of benefits which I've just listed here. Readability. You don't need to have to start compare. You cannot even compare the code I showed you before I started writing this code. This is more readable. I don't need to start deciphering if statement and going into implementation. You get?
Yeah.
So we have readability, which is one of the very important things developers are looking out for. Definitely. In any new project they are inheriting. They want to be able to see how they can get in the code, understand it, and start tweaking it. At the same time, not breaking things that was working before. Another thing is flexibility. I just showed you how flexible it is, how you can call them in any manner. Either you call apply VAT first or you call and also shipping fee first. It depends on how you want it to be. Get? Yeah. Loosely coupling, loose coupling, I mean. And loose coupling is the ability to say tomorrow, we don't want you to add shipping fee. The moment I remove that chaining method called also apply also shipping fee, it completely just doesn't break the code. Everything still works the way it should be. And then lastly, single responsibility principle. This code tries to maintain this principle, which is something that applies to the solid principle. So you see that Fluent API also is a pattern that tries to also meet you at the point where you have Fluent principle. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah.
All right.
I get that.
So I would encourage you to ask more questions. I think I've gotten to the end of my slides. Okay. If you have anything to ask, please feel free to.
Talking about solid principle, can you put more explanation on that? Like, is there like a difference between solid principle and design pattern?
No, they're the same thing. Solid principles just tries to identify some set of key things, major key things that they feel are one of the best principles that if you follow, every other things would align. It's an acronym. I'm not going to bore myself with that. You could go and read up on it. But at the end of the day, one is just a principle. The other is the techniques you use to achieve those principles. Yeah. And solid principle does not talk to any programming language. It's just expect that if you know the principle, you look back at your programming ecosystem and see how to achieve those principles in it. And you do that using different patterns. Okay. And an example I've just shown you now is a Fluent interface.
Yeah.
All right.
So do we need to... Okay, you can go ahead, sir. You can go ahead.
Yeah, so basically, I have some URLs that will be shared, which people can check this out. And I'm also going to share a repo to accessing this code if you're interested.
That's perfect.
Feel free to check it out, play with it, and comment and reach out to me. I would really appreciate to see how to help.
Definitely.
So that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, but lastly, sorry, I'm a very curious person. So lastly, do I need to, or do we have to download a NuGet package to really assess the flexibility part of the principle that you just mentioned, the design pattern?
No, at all. This is basically basic pure C#. You don't need any package. You don't need any special library. It's just the ability to use some of the C# syntax to construct and achieve what the pattern tries to define.
Oh, right. Okay, so can you share us your LinkedIn profile or maybe X or something, your social media?
Yeah, so I think that's at the beginning of my slide. That's my handle. Basically, that's my handle. You can check me on Twitter. I think that's the best place you can catch up on some of the exciting things I share and you can also benefit from it. So Prolific Lexi, that's my
Okay, at
handle on
Prolific
Twitter.
Lexi.
So I
Okay.
think that's the best place to catch me. And
All right.
I follow along with some of what I'm doing, some of my thoughts, and get up to date with what it looks like I'm using my day to achieve.
All right.
So
Thank
thank you.
you. Thank you so much. That was really, really insightful. And I'm very sure our audience would love to connect with you because, of course, there are lots to achieve and get from you. Thank you so much. And thank you for coming. Yeah, thank you so much. That was so insightful. Trust you learned one or two things. Fluent interface and method chaining design pattern helps you write a cleaner and more expressive code for better readability, flexibility, and maintenance. Trust you will explore this in your next project. Thank you for being part of the show. Stay tech savvy. Your girl, Chazi.